Hello YouTubers, this is the noobifier. I decided to finally tackle what seemed simple, but has proven to be a much deeper topic. Welcome to the next installation of the job series, the Professional Fighter Pilot. CIG's never actually confirmed that we would be able to work for the UEE after Squadron 42 in the persistent universe. We do, however, know that Squadron 42 is our military service and a great way to learn the skills required. With that, it's important to outline that I'm now talking specifically about our future multiplayer experience and not the single-player campaign. So what we do after our service is up to us, be it cargo, exploration, the service industry, industrial, medical, or aspects of service and combat arms. The goal of any military force is clearly defined by law, directives, policy, and an order in keeping with the government's will. No formed force operates without legal authority. There are mercenaries and freelance securities, so what about them? Just like a private investigator isn't a police detective, a mercenary isn't a soldier and must still operate within the law. They may still operate with as much organization, support, and professionalism as a soldier, but they lack the order and the mandate from the government. They are, after all, just citizens. Most countries acknowledge the right to self-defense all the way to deadly force, even for a civilian. Grievous injury and some types of assault can be included in this, and depending on the situation, a civilian contractor hired to perform security can also be delegated. So the in-game point of all that is, depending on the local laws and situation, a civilian can legally take a life in the course of their duty to protect and perform defense. Star Citizen is a complex and detailed sandbox simulation. We're expecting broad mission types interwoven with a dynamic legal and economic simulation. With 3.6, we're seeing the initial stages of law, which seem to be more like a who shot first is bad. This is only the first pass, and I know that Tony Z has some planned depth. Varied levels of law and lawlessness depending on where you are. What you can do or what is acceptable around Grimhex may not be acceptable around ArcCorp. You might be able to play for months in a lawless sector, offering some great mercenary gameplay. It'll be up to you to read up if you plan to operate in a new sector to make sure that you don't become the criminal. There are several situations where you may be called upon to perform security. The bystander intervention, performing org security as part of the day-to-day operations, and the true PMC mandate where you're hired to protect something else. Bystander intervention works differently based on where you are. This is the classic Good Samaritan coming to the aid, which is played out mostly in sci-fi as the distress call. This is already seen as the service beacon request for support. You arrive and put your life at risk based knowing only half of the situation. This is risky for several reasons, including that you don't actually know the events leading up to your arrival, and opening fire on the player aggressor would mark you as a criminal. This is where that proposed depth and subsumption would really help our gameplay. Tony Z has often hinted that he plans to add more than just the who shot first is bad model. When missions like this are created as scripted NPC events, it would of course be a lot easier to account for these issues because of the scenario. So what's your payout? You did a great deed, hopefully got some notoriety, possibly got a thank you payment as agreed in the beacon. For some orgs, the positive reputation is worth more than any of the credit. Running security internally for your org or externally as a contract are very similar with the exception of loyalty. Loyalty and reputation are the key because you're only as good as your last job. If your escort force is made up of members from your own org, they are truly invested in mission success and can be counted on. You're all part of the same team, so losing the asset may be worse than losing your life. Being part of the team makes people do things that they normally wouldn't do. Overall success means that the org can cover operating costs or achieve a greater goal like outfitting a javelin. As a fighter pilot working for your own org, you may risk a little bit more for your team because you know that they're there. You have others standing by to rescue, repair, rearm, and cover you. If an org is set up as a pure PMC, usually their only source of income is security contracts in escort and bounty. They are hired to do a mission for money. The only reassurance that the buyer has in this situation is, as I mentioned before, the PMC's reputation and track record. A PMC can operate fully legal, it can touch a little bit into the gray, or can work illegally as a flat-out goon squad. In all cases, reputation and by extension reliability and success rate can be seen as loyalty, or how well they can be trusted to do what they agreed to. More loyalty may come at a higher price, or perhaps the PMC truly does just value the reputation over their gear or their life. Either way, I think it's clear that there are layers of complexity in choosing your escort. I'm going to touch upon the competitive fighter, which existed in Arena Commander, and I hope to see that player return. A simulated dogfight environment within our game universe would be a reason for the best fighters to get better, with fame and fortune being the prize. It's actually up to CIG to decide if they value the competitive gameplay and then provide us a proper simulation where skill and practice reward the bold. Let's talk about ships. Not all ships are suited for the job, despite most having weapon hardpoints, even the industry and racing ships. It's a messy universe, but the most likely craft of choice will be the mainline fighter. These are durable, complex craft with defensive capability balanced with protection and agility. The basic Aurora LN is the starting tier fighter, but it's instantly outclassed by the 325A, the Gladius, the Buccaneer, Hornet, Super Hornet, Sabre, Vanguard, some of the alien ships, and the newest F8 Lightning. There's no single best ship for every situation, so the professional fighter needs to anticipate the needs of the mission and leverage their skill and training to operate the many types of craft. Weapon selection needs to be tailored, and using the missile loadout could greatly upset the profit margin. Perhaps firing the costly missiles will end the fight before more costly damage is applied to your ship. We know that misery loves company and there's strength in numbers. The fighter pilot trains to be the best, but there will always be someone out there better. 2 or 3 ships working together may turn away an attacker, making a bad mission into an incident-free trip. I like to end videos like this with a scenario. Your org is looking for work and notices a 10 million bounty that has been leveraged against WTFosaurus, a notorious baddie. Perhaps you pay for some information, perhaps you track him down through pattern of life, or perhaps you just get lucky. As his org is made up of criminals, you shouldn't have to worry about legal issues in taking them down. Your org agrees to assemble a composite team based on what you plan to encounter, take them down, and then collect the payout. There are always hidden costs that need to be considered. Now you're open to retaliation either directly or through a bounty, but perhaps it's enough that your reputation is higher throughout the sector. Hopefully the reputation makes it easier to get a paycheck that covers the operating costs in the future. The second scenario. Your org needs to secure an area for large-scale static mining. You decide how many and what types of ships are needed to protect the situation. If the org is organized, you're just a very small part of the bigger mission. There's going to be assets that are tasked to repair, rearm, and refuel. Other assets might also be tasked with early warning. Cargo will be running that'll also require their own escort. Medical assets may be on standby to improve the survival rate in combat. You may have a Polaris nearby as your command ship. As org members come online or log out for the night, people fill in as needed, keeping the drill safe and operating. Perhaps being there is just enough of a deterrent to keep things peaceful. And that's it. A more detailed overview of the profession of the fighter pilot. I found researching this one interesting because it's how I actually see myself spending my time in Star Citizen. Plus, it was neat to consider how law and bounty is going to play with security and killing. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. If you liked the video and got something out of it, please do me a solid and share it with a friend or org mate. Please have a look for other videos in the job series. Fly safe, and I'll see you in the verse.